Right now, all eyes are on abortion, as it is the first legislature to convene following the decision from the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. Our investigative reporter tonight, Sierra Putman, is at the Capitol, and she is looking at every line of that bill, which is Senate Bill 1.
Rich Nye's been there hearing hours of testimony from Hoosiers weighing in on the bill.
And then we have team coverage that continues tonight with Jenny Runovich. She covered the vice president's visit with lawmakers today as they consider these new abortion restrictions.
We're going to get to all of that for you tonight, but we want to begin with Karen Campbell, who's just outside the Statehouse. Karen?
Hey, Scott. Hey, Ann. It's been an emotionally charged day here all day in front of the Statehouse. You see behind me there are roughly about 100 protesters here today. Not quite as much as there were here earlier today, but again, they are continuing chanting their message. They want to make their voices heard. They want lawmakers inside of the State House to know that they don't want abortion banned. That is their message today as cars drive by. You see, igniting the crowd into cheers. So we want to go to some video of what we shot earlier today. You're going to see some of these protesters. They actually, instead of staying at the State House, they decided to take their message to the street. Signs held high. Those abortion rights activists, of course, they let their voices be known. They marched around the State House and at times blocking traffic. Police officers were there giving them the space to do so, of course, while keeping them safe. And while pro-life activists say no life should be aborted, others argue that women should have the right to do what is best for them, and that decision should be between a woman and her doctor, not lawmakers.
As a sexual assault survivor, to have the rights to my body when that wasn't something I could do for myself is very important, and I want to be able to do that for potentially my future kids and set the tone for what's to come in this country.
And obviously you have to look at the emotional and mental health of the mother if incest or rape is involved. But I think the government needs to be pulled out of health care entirely.
Now, that was Patricia Shelton. She is pro-life and says that life shouldn't be taken away, again, unless a woman has been the victim of incest or rape. Now, Ann and Scott, both sides tell me that this is not something as simple as an open and closed debate. We know there is a lot that goes in to talking about abortion rights here in Indiana.
All right, thanks so much, Karen, reporting live outside. Well, all these protesters, you know, they have a voice and they feel like they have a stake because they helped elect the men and the women who are the lawmakers that will decide on this legislation. And only those lawmakers decide what here in Indiana will become law.
13 News' Sierra Putman was in the Senate chamber today. And Sierra, those senators today mostly listen to what people throughout and thought about this proposed legislation, right?
They did. They heard from about 40 people, although more than 300 people actually signed up to speak today. Now, today you could actually feel the building vibrating with all those people who came to chant. We just saw people start to walk away because this committee meeting actually wrapped up about 15 minutes ago. Now, the Senate President pro tempore, Roderick Bray, was in charge of the rules of how this meeting would go. He said those who signed up would receive at least 3 minutes to speak. More than 300 people signed up online. And again, this meeting wrapped up at about 5:30 and less than 20% of those people got to speak. During testimony, lawmakers also asked the bill author and speakers questions about this proposed law.
We are legislating the choice of individuals. They will not have a choice because we're going to make the choice for them in terms of whether they can, they decide whether to go on with the pregnancy or not.
And I appreciate the questions from the Democratic side. I would like to hear questions from the Republican side. It's been crickets. Guys, you're the pro-life legislature.
Now, the majority of questions came from Democrats, although we know they're in the minority. This committee will meet again starting tomorrow at 9. Now, those people who signed up and did not get to speak today, they might get a chance to speak tomorrow. After this meeting wrapped up, I asked Senator Bray why he didn't extend the meeting so we could hear from more people, and he said they simply don't have that much time. They have a limited time period, and so that's why he wanted to move things along. Again, people can still sign up in person and online for tomorrow's meeting. Now we're going to go over to Rich Nye.
Yeah, and Sierra, the chairman of that committee, Senator Roderick Bray, had hoped to hear from about 80 people today. As you said, they only heard from less than 40. But we did hear from a wide variety of people from all across the state of Indiana, young and old, from a variety of professions, representing a variety of organizations. We heard from pastors, we heard from rabbis, we heard from doctors. But one thing that was common is that no matter where you stand on the issue of abortion, no one seems to like the bill as it's written currently.
I believe Senate Bill 1 has great potential, but I am very concerned about the rape and incest exception because it follows the same abusive and discriminatory logic. This bill says you must be human plus conceived in love to have human rights. Otherwise, you can be murdered in the womb. I don't believe this is moral, and I don't believe this is just.
The fetus is a part of the pregnant woman, not an independent human life. Under Jewish law, abortion is not only permissible in some circumstances, but is required, if necessary, to protect the physical and mental health of the pregnant woman.
And the committee asked questions of the bill author for about a half hour at the start of the meeting today at 1 o'clock. So testimony from the public really did not begin until about 1:30. So we had a solid 4 hours of testimony before this committee hearing wrapped up for the day just after 5:30 this evening. And that committee will be back at it again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. hearing more public testimony. The plan is to also hear amendments tomorrow in committee and then take a vote from the committee by noon. That will be a very hard-pressed deadline to reach on Tuesday based on the number of people who are outspoken about this issue.
All right, Rich. And of course, this debate over abortion here in the state of Indiana is drawing national attention, including the White House.
Vice President Kamala Harris flew here to Indianapolis today, meeting with Hoosier lawmakers. And our Jenny Runovich joins us live tonight at 6 with what she had to say. Jenny?
Well, Scott, not surprisingly, Vice President Kamala Harris was highly critical of the bill proposed by Hoosier Republican lawmakers, and she vowed to fight to work alongside those working to protect abortion access here in Indiana. That happened today here at the Indiana State Library. The Vice President met with a little more than 24 state lawmakers and other Democrats for about an hour this morning. Much of their discussion happened once reporters left the room, but the Vice President did say Indiana is really on the front lines of what she calls a crisis for women right now. And she says she came here to support Hoosier women's right to make decisions about their own bodies without government interference.
That on this issue, one does not have to abandon your faith or your beliefs to agree that the government should not be making this decision for her. An individual should be able to choose based on their personal beliefs and the dictates of their faith, but the government should not be telling an individual what to do, especially as it relates to one of the most intimate and personal decisions a woman could make.
And today, Vice President Harris did vow continued support from the White House for abortion rights here in Indiana and other states. Meanwhile, Republican leadership here in our state and nationwide essentially called her visit here a publicity stunt. Scott and Ann.